The Koltsevoy pipeline attack. It was late October 31st, 2025, just before midnight, when Ukraine launched a series of attacks that would shake Moscow to its core. The city, usually buzzing with the hum of cars and chatter, suddenly faced a silent danger from the skies. No one could have imagined that within hours, a critical fuel artery supplying the Russian army could be crippled, and the consequences would ripple across the nation. Ukrainian military intelligence, HUR, confirmed that their forces had successfully struck the Koltsevoy pipeline near Ramensky district, disabling all three of its major fuel lines. This pipeline stretched nearly 400 kilometers, carrying millions of tons of gasoline, diesel, and jet fuel from refineries in Ryazan, Nizhny Novgorod, and Moscow itself. Imagine, in one precise operation, Ukraine had paralyzed a key supply line feeding the Russian military, cutting off essential fuel at the heart of Moscow's operations. The Koltsevoy pipeline wasn't just any pipeline. It was capable of transporting 3 million tons of jet fuel, 2.8 million tons of diesel, and 1.6 million tons of gasoline every year. To put it simply, this pipeline was like the lifeblood of the Russian army in the western region. Without it, tanks grind to a halt, helicopters stay grounded, and supply convoys stall before reaching the front lines. HUR called it a serious blow to Russian military logistics, and their leader Kirill Budanov added that this strike had more impact than international sanctions. The immediate visual of explosions ripping through a heavily guarded facility, anti-drone nets flaring under the strike, and fuel lines bursting into flames was enough to shock even the most seasoned military analysts. This wasn't a distant skirmish. This was right on Moscow's doorstep. Moscow Oblast shaken, blackouts, shortages, and civilian impact. As the news spread, reports of blackouts and fuel shortages began to pour in from Moscow Oblast. In the town of Zhukovsky, 25 miles southeast of Moscow, an automatic equipment shutdown led to a large-scale blackout affecting over 100,000 residents. The smell of smoke and burnt oil hung in the air, while emergency sirens wailed. The pipeline's destruction wasn't just a military hit, it struck civilian life too. Gas stations reported long lines, and rumors of energy rationing spread like wildfire. People could sense the city's pulse slowing as key services faltered. It was a clear message. Ukraine had shown it could reach into the heart of Russia, hitting its infrastructure where it hurt most. The attacks did not stop there. In the early hours of November 1st, 2025, Ukrainian drones hit the Tuapse oil port on the Black Sea, setting tankers and port infrastructure ablaze. Flames engulfed loading terminals, and thick black smoke poured into the sky, visible from miles away. Local authorities confirmed damage to 2 foreign civilian ships, adding an international dimension to the strike. Meanwhile, a series of attacks on refineries, including the Saratov oil refinery, reduced Russia's oil refining capacity by around 20%. This refinery alone, capable of producing 4.8 million metric tons of oil annually, faced repeated strikes from Ukraine over autumn, creating massive disruptions in fuel supply. Long queues at gas stations became a daily reality, and Moscow's energy dependence showed its vulnerability. Ukraine's drone campaign. Ukraine's drone strategy was crucial to these operations. Over the course of late October and early November, Ukraine deployed hundreds of drones, including long-range models capable of evading Moscow's air defenses. Over 3 consecutive nights, drones were sent toward Moscow, forcing the closure of Sheremetyevo, Domodedovo, and Zhukovsky airports. While Russian authorities claimed most drones were intercepted, some successfully struck military and industrial targets, demonstrating Ukraine's to penetrate the capital's defenses repeatedly.
Russia says it's ready to move fast on a deal for peace in Ukraine, but the main thing for them remains to achieve their goals, which have not changed. It comes as President Zelensky says Ukraine has offered to meet Russian negotiators next week. Overnight, Russia's defense ministry said it had downed 142 drones, including 27 over the Moscow region. Our correspondent Charlotte Gallagher is in Kyiv with more.
These operations not only damaged material assets, but highlighted the precision of Ukrainian drone strikes and their ability to disrupt Russia's war economy. Russia's air defenses scrambled to respond, but repeated incursions demonstrated a growing gap between defensive capacity and Ukrainian operational reach. Civilian toll and collateral damage. The human toll was immediate and tragic. In the Mykolaiv region, a civilian died, and 19 others were wounded, including a 9-year-old girl, after an Iskander missile struck the area. In Odessa, a drone attack on a car park killed 2 people and injured 3 more. Fires were sparked in Poltava at a gas plant, and parts of Donetsk and Zaporizhzhia regions faced power outages affecting tens of thousands. These strikes highlighted the high stakes for civilians, who live alongside military targets in a dangerous environment. Each casualty, though tragic, underscored the broader strategic message. Ukraine was capable of retaliation and disruption, even deep inside Russian territory. Frontline counterattacks and two-front strategy. Meanwhile, on the front line in eastern Ukraine, Russian forces pressed their assault on Pokrovsk in the Donetsk region. Ukrainian special forces were deployed to the city on November 1st, countering Russian advances and preventing full encirclement.
In Pokrovsk, indeed, it has been some very chaotic days, and Ukraine says it is conducting an operation to try and maintain open the lines of communication, the logistic lines for its own army. But to the admission of Kyiv itself, we are talking about more than 11,000 Russian troops being gathered around the city, with a few hundred Russian soldiers also within the city of Pokrovsk itself. They have managed to infiltrate this city, and it's particularly those soldiers that
Ukraine was not just defending its territory, but actively disrupting Russian operations and morale. Long-term impacts on military and civilian life. Russia's response to these attacks reflected growing internal challenges. The government has increased military conscription to a year-round schedule, theoretically limiting conscripts' exposure to the front lines, though many have reportedly been coerced into volunteer contracts.
President Vladimir Putin has ordered a major increase in the size of the country's military, in a significant move amid the war with Ukraine. The new decree, signed Monday, adds 180,000 troops to the Russian military, giving a boost in combat troops to 1.5 million. And bringing its total military personnel up to nearly 2.4 million.
The impact of these attacks was not just immediate. The after effects are significant. Disrupting fuel supply lines slows military operations, grounds aircraft, and immobilizes tanks. It creates logistical headaches for Russian commanders who must reroute supplies or risk running units dry. Long-term, repeated strikes on refineries and oil ports can reduce export revenue, weaken the economy, and strain military funding. The destruction of the Koltsevoy pipeline alone represents millions of tons of lost fuel annually. The strategic ripple effect is clear: fewer operational vehicles, constrained troop movements, and limited ability to sustain prolonged offensives. The psychological and practical impact. Energy infrastructure is also a major civilian concern. Centralized heating, water, and sewer systems rely on consistent electricity. Attacks on power plants and gas facilities mean rolling blackouts, cold homes, and disrupted daily life. For a city like Moscow, normally insulated from wartime damage, these disruptions have a psychological impact as well. Citizens are reminded that no place is fully safe, and confidence in the government's ability to maintain normalcy is shaken. When energy fails, even daily routines like cooking, commuting, and heating become difficult, amplifying the sense of urgency and vulnerability. The sequence of Ukrainian attacks over these days created a continuous loop of tension. Each successful strike revealed vulnerabilities, each drone intercepted or missed showed persistence, and each civilian casualty reinforced the stakes. Ukraine's operations demonstrate the integration of technology, strategy, and timing. The use of drones allowed precision strikes while minimizing risk to personnel. Special Forces operations on the front lines ensured that Russian gains were contested. The combination paralyzed not just military logistics, but also struck fear into the civilian population, creating a multi-layered effect that few expected to see in Moscow itself. Strategic ripple effects. Looking forward, the implications of these attacks could be far-reaching. Moscow's military planners will need to rethink supply lines, reinforcing pipelines, storage, and security while adjusting operational tempo. Oil refining capacity remains under threat, potentially reducing fuel availability for both domestic and military needs. Civilian morale may decline if rolling blackouts and fuel shortages persist, impacting public opinion and political pressure within Russia. International observers and analysts are already noting that Ukraine's strategy is evolving beyond conventional defense to direct strikes on critical infrastructure, forcing Moscow to allocate resources defensively rather than offensively. Despite the chaos, Ukraine's strategy showcases an organized approach to asymmetric warfare. By targeting high-value nodes like the Koltsevoy pipeline, Tuapse oil port, Saratov refinery, and industrial plants in Stavropol, Ukraine maximizes damage with limited resources. Drones act as force multipliers, capable of hitting multiple targets in one night and creating constant uncertainty. Each strike forces Moscow to divert attention, engage defenses, and repair damage, while Ukrainian forces continue operations on the front lines. This strategy is both physical and psychological, shaping the battlefield even far from active combat zones. That's all for today. What do you think will happen next? Comment below, hit like if this blew your mind, and subscribe for more updates.